OmniTalk Fast 5 is brought to you in association with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Avalara. Avalara makes tax compliance faster, easier, more accurate, and more reliable for 30,000 plus business and government customers in over 90 countries. Avalara leverages 1,200 plus signed partner integrations to power tax calculations, document management, tax return filing, and tax content access. Visit avalara.com to improve your compliance journey. And Mirakl. Mirakl is the global leader in platform business innovation for e-commerce. Companies like Macy's, Nordstrom, and Kroger use Mirakl to build disruptive growth and profitability through marketplace, dropship, and retail media. For more, visit Mirakl.com. That's Mirakl.com. And Ownit AI. Ownit AI helps the world's leading retailers advance their e-commerce shopping experience with AI. To learn more, visit Ownit.co. And finally, Ocampo Capital. Ocampo Capital is a venture capital firm founded by retail executives with the aim of helping early-stage consumer businesses succeed through investment and operational support. Learn more at ocampocapital.com. Hello, you are listening to OmniTalk's Retail Fast 5, ranked in the top 10% of all podcasts globally and currently ranked in the top 100 of all business podcasts on Apple Podcasts. The Retail Fast 5 is the podcast that we hope makes you feel a little smarter, but most importantly, a little happier each week too. And the Fast 5 is just one of the many great podcasts you can find from the OmniTalk Retail Podcast Network, alongside our Retail Daily Minute, which brings you a curated selection of the most important retail headlines every morning, and our Retail Technology Spotlight series, which goes deep each week on the latest retail technology trends. Today is August 21st, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Ann Mezzenga.
And I'm Chris Walton.
And we are back from vacation to discuss and debate.
Yes, we are, Ann.
Yes, the most important headlines from the past, we'll just say several weeks, Chris, because there was some that were just too good to let go. So we will bring those headlines in today.
There were, and although I do have a question for you coming off vacation. I think it's important to get this. You were in Denmark. You loved it. Did you have a Danish in Denmark? I'm curious.
No. I mean, I guess, do you consider a croissant a Danish?
No, croissant? No, it's French. It's by definition French. No, absolutely not.
I will say there's not a lot of a Danish is not a thing that we equate with actual Denmark. Like that's not, you would have a smorgasbord.
Okay, right.
I think that's how it's said.
And
you have to have
sure,
an enunciation with that.
Right. I'm sure all the Danish out there are very appreciative of you not having a Danish, like some yokel American, like I would be if I went over there and sent a video of it or something. But Ann, also, we've got a new sponsor too.
We do.
Ocampo Capital, for those that were paying close attention. I'm really excited about this sponsor. I've got a close personal relationship with the founder, Carl Bracken. I used to work with him at Target. He is by far and away the smartest, most intelligent person I interacted with in my time at Target. So I can't wait to see what he's doing. He's got a new VC fund that's focused on helping new consumer based startups get traction in their industry. So excited to see what he's got in store. And we're also going to have him regularly on the podcast here, hopefully like every quarter as we get going here, to provide his perspective on the consumer industry from the VC standpoint of things, which is an angle that we haven't really touched upon here at OmniTalk, and we're excited to go forward and do that.
Yes, great guy, Carl. We're really excited to have Ocampo Capital on board here with us. And also, Chris, one of our other sponsors, joining us today. And let's be real, here to support us on our first Fast 5 coming out of our post-vacation week. We have the one and only A&M Consumer and Retail Group back for their regularly scheduled monthly appearance. Yeah, I can't even say regularly.
I know, right? We're rusty, Ed. We're rusty. We're going to get the cobwebs off. Shake them off.
I know. Ed. So today we have the pleasure of welcoming first-timer Adam Thompson and the one, the only, the Lusker, Chad Lusk. Chad, Adam, welcome to the show. Chad, I'm going to go to you first. For those who, I don't know how they wouldn't know you because you have been such a staple on the show, but for those who don't know you, give them a quick bit of your background, if you don't mind.
Yes. And man, I feel like I need to explain things like nicknames and one and only is very, you obviously still have some vacation haze going on right now. But, thank you for that. It's wonderful, wonderful to be back. Yeah, so Chad Lusk, partner and managing director out of our Chicago office at A&M CRG. My background prior to this gig is I'm a multi-time chief marketing officer, chief strategy officer, across both retail and CPG environments. I spend most of my time now kind of working on broad scale commercial transformations, a specific focus on kind of front end commercial growth, but while overall improving sort of corporate structures and operating models. So happy to be back and discussing these pretty cool topics.
And for those listeners that are new to our show, Chad is the title holder as well for the single best answer ever given in the history of the OmniTalk Retail Fast Five podcast.
My gosh.
That's an official designation.
It is.
It is.
There's a belt coming, actually, Chad, too. We're going to make a belt for you.
I love it. I need some sort of crown.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Adam, this is your first time here, so introduce yourself to our OmniTalk Retail audience.
Awesome. Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Chris. Great to be here today. My name is Adam Thompson. I've been working with Chad for about 5 years now. I'm a director in our practice based in New York. Prior to being at A&M, I was in a number of strategy and operations roles at small and large retailers, all in the New York metropolitan area, everything from J. Crew to Walmart. So really excited to be here and to be on the show today.
We're excited. I'm excited to have a fellow J. Crew alum on the show. That's amazing, Adam. Can't wait to get your insight.
Were you there in the Mickey days?
I was not there. Well, I guess it was there at the end of the Mickey days. But yes, I was working in stores, so not in an official headquarters position, but it was one of the best jobs that I've had in retail for sure. Learned more there than anywhere else in all my years working in this industry. So it was fantastic.
Hey, I'd say the same thing.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into the headlines, we have a little bit of catching up to do because we were off for the past few weeks, Chris. I want to take this quick opportunity to announce this month's OmniStar.
That's right, Ann. Our OmniStar Award is the award we give out each month in partnership with Corso to recognize the top omnichannel operators out there. Not the pundits, not the so-called experts, but the real-life retail operators making a difference in their organizations. Corso's AI Copilot coaches retail leaders to optimize store performance at every level, transform retail operations from data overload into data powered. And this month's award goes to Tony Costanzo, this SVP and Chief Stores Officer at Torrid. This award is also personal for me because Tony and I go way back. We were field leaders at Target together.
Yeah.
He took me under his wing when I was trying to learn how to run stores. He was also a key stakeholder for us, Ann, as I can tell from the way you're reacting to this announcement.
He was the best.
When we were working on Store of the Future. But the big reason that we're recognizing Tony today is that he is an incredible team guy. People love him. He inspires them. He's naturally curious. He's always interested in the content that we're putting out. And honestly, retail could use a few more people like Tony.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go to the headlines, Chris. It's time.
All right. Without further ado, our first Fast Five after vacation, we've got news on Victoria's Secret's new CEO hire, Best Buy's launch of live delivery tracking, DoorDash adding Max to its DashPass member benefits, Walmart calling it quits on drone delivery in 3 states, and Vince Coe, the global head of digital commerce at AWS, stops by for 5 insightful minutes on how and where retailers should make investments in AI. But we begin today with news of another major CEO change at Starbucks. Ann,
let's do it, you guys. Starbucks gave its current CEO the boot and has named Chipotle's CEO as his replacement. According to the Wall Street Journal, Starbucks has appointed current Chipotle Mexican grill chief Brian Niccol as its next leader as it works to turn around its business and contend with activist investors. Current Starbucks chief Laxman Narasimhan has stepped down as CEO and board director after roughly 16 months on the job. He was the first outside boss to lead the modern iteration of Starbucks and was handpicked by Howard Schultz to be the successor. Howard Schultz, obviously the influential entrepreneur who helped build Starbucks into a global coffee powerhouse. At Chipotle, Mirakl presided over strong sales and profit as other restaurant chains have struggled to keep customers coming in, and will reportedly assume the CEO role at Starbucks on September 9th. Chad, we're going to go to you first. What do you think of this hire? And would you recommend the new Starbucks CEO, Mirakl? What would you recommend he focus on first?
Yeah, well, so first of all, Brian, a fellow Chicago booth alum just a couple years before me. So
Oh, wow.
obviously we're on the same path.
Of
No,
course.
listen, coming from where they are right now, I mean, I'll get into the hard things around the business model in a second, but the biggest thing right now is his actual first job is around trust, credibility, and clarity. The focus absolutely has to be on restoring investor confidence, and it starts with communication. Starbucks has gotten killed lately in the investor community because they haven't been authentic about recognizing that there are real problems, why those problems exist, and what they're going to do about them. There was too much dodging, and therefore there hasn't been trust within the investor community. So enter Brian, right? He has a track record with aligns with what investor sentiment suggests Starbucks needs to fix at this point. And that's why actually the stock jumped so much upon his announcement, right? Culturally, it's like NFL football teams, right? And coaching changes where you'll go from disciplinarian to players coach, right? And like you go too far in one direction, like you need a clear reputational difference, right? And rumor has it that this guy is a great cultural leader, empowers teams, acts in the best interests of employees, leads by example. Like he's the kind of values-driven leader it seems like Starbucks needs right now, right? And actually like focusing internally on those kind of things and restoring confidence is a big deal. Now, with that said, he does have to really quickly diagnose this new business that he's in terms of what the real issues are with facts and a plan. And so from my point of view, Starbucks has always been about two things, right? Product and the in-store experience, right? And currently they're challenged in those areas. And so namely on the price value for the product, where I contend that they have lost a meaningful customer segment because they've pushed beyond the boundaries of reasonable willingness to pay. So that's one. And then number two, like a really disrupted customer experience because of poor speed of service and excruciatingly long lines, right? And so Brian's track record is actually building growth through innovation, focus on product, and delivering exceptional customer experience. So overall, there's reason to believe here.
Yeah, I think you just nailed that, Chad. You really hit on every single point that I think is going to be so critical to Mikrakl's kind of coming in and really reshaping what Starbucks is for the customer and for the shareholders too. Adam, anything that you'd add in here?
And I'd ask you, last time you went to Starbucks, how long did you have to wait for your order?
Actually, I didn't. It was ready for me, so
Oh, wow.
I have. But
Because you
I
did
will
mobile,
say,
you did order ahead, right?
I did mobile order. Yes, I don't go into. I never go into a Starbucks and just walk up to the counter anymore. But Brian or Adam, what's your experience been?
I would say that, like you, I have had a positive experience because I trusted the ETA in the app saying that I needed to wait 35 minutes to go my order. Right?
That's the thing. You got to put it in quick. You got to put it in early, right, Adam? That's the thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think this experience, which is underpinned by labor challenges as they try to maintain profitability while growing, it's a significant challenge for him. Having the right labor model in order to fulfill demand, especially in what is such a peak business, is tough. And there's been a lot of employee disengagement. We've seen the pushes toward unionization. I think making sure that he's in stores and building credibility, not only with the investor community, like what Chad has mentioned, but making sure that that store base is engaged and excited and helping deliver on that experience that can then enable growth to return is key for him to get right.
Yeah, I agree, Adam. I think, there was a quote in the Wall Street Journal article where he said early in his days at P&G, he said, you can't just market past what the product experience is. He was talking specifically about, a scope gum that they were trying to release and customer dissatisfaction with it. And so I'm hopeful that like we see him kind of go with that as the mantra. Like you can't just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and hoping that, these customers still hold on and go to Starbucks, and that he's really starting to make some real changes. But Chris, I'll have you close us out here. What are your thoughts on this hire?
Yeah, I would echo many of the sentiments, but I'd probably emphasize one pretty overtly. I think, first of all, you look at the hire. I love the hire from a background standpoint. This guy has the experience, which is something I think is very needed when you're looking at a position like this. You need to know the industry that you're going into. I think it's always a benefit. And I think if memory serves, I called that out when Laxman got hired initially. Like he was from Reckitt. Like, how does he know how to run Starbucks? I think that's a good question to be asking. Or like when Michelle Gass went from Starbucks to Kohl's, like where's the synergy there, or the alignment there in understanding how things work? But the other point I'd bring up, and Nicole's got a great background at Yum prior to Chipotle too, very extensive. So, but the big issue for me is which way do you take the brand? So this is what I'm going to extend the comments that Chad was making. I mean, I think, I said weeks ago on the show that I think they probably wish they could disinvent the mobile ordering process in a lot of ways, because it's hamstringing them. The wait times are longer. We also said that prices are up at Starbucks. Things have gotten so expensive that people are starting to evaluate trade-offs. And so to solve it, I think the only way you can solve it, honestly, is you have to go back to the experience of Starbucks. You play on you can't just play on I just need to get heroin into as many arms as possible through mobile ordering, because then people will start to trade away over time. And so that's my advice for him, is play on the experience. Don't play on the digital, just get coffee into as many people's hands as possible.
Man, I still cannot agree with you on that.
Why not? Let's have the discussion. Why not?
I think that you still have, I think one of the things I'm excited to see him do is, really operationalize the mobile ordering so that it is better. Like there are so many things that Starbucks could be putting in place to improve how mobile ordering is executed, from automation to just better processes and regulations that we saw him Brian roll out at Chipotle. So I think like that thing needs a total overhaul to like make the coffee ready faster. And I just think with the scale that you have of Starbucks, I just think that it's got to be, even if you are staying in the spaces, it's still got to be about getting coffee when and where people expect it. And I think it's not necessarily about sitting in the Starbucks anymore. I think they become kind of like the McDonald's of the coffee world, and it's more about, you got locations, you got to get speed and accuracy with your orders, and that's what people are looking for, not necessarily using Starbucks as like the place that you meet up with people anymore.
Wow. And that's why I think, and then I think long-term your growth prospects get dimmed if you become the McDonald's of coffee. All right, because there's already a McDonald's of coffee. All right, headline number 2. Victoria's Secret has also named a new CEO while we were out on vacation. According to Retail Touchpoints, Victoria's Secret & Company has named Anthropologie and Savage by Fenty veteran Hillary Super as its new CEO and the member of the board, also effective September 9th. Something must be in the water on September 9th. Current CEO Martin Waters, who has helmed the company since late 2020, will step down, and Chief Financial Administrative Officer Timothy Johnson will fill the role on an interim basis until Super takes over. Super brings nearly 3 decades of retail merchant experience and a successful track record leading brands at the highest level, most recently as CEO of Rihanna's intimates and accessories brands, and prior to that as global CEO of the Anthropologie Group. She also has held a variety of merchandising and operator roles at retailers, including Guess, American Eagle Outfitters, Gap, and Ann Taylor. In fact, we overlapped together at the Gap. I remember her well. Adam, just how super is this hire, pun intended? And similar to the last headline, on what should the new Victoria's Secret CEO try to accomplish within her first year on the job?
No, absolutely. So I think, Hillary's absolutely a super hire. She is a long-time merchant, and having a long career in merchandising enables you to really have that balance between what is the bleeding edge of fashion and innovation, while what is actually merchandisable or commercial and can drive long-term financial success. I think if you think about where she's coming from in the journey of Victoria's Secret, Martin's been there a long time. I think 2008 is when he started in international, and he's built a solid foundation for Hillary. Over the last few years, he carved it out, right? So separated from Bath and Body Works, he built digital capabilities. And one of his other accomplishments was to unlock the profitability that would allow them to fund innovation. So now Hillary's walking into this company where they're ready to go, they're ready to reinvent themselves. They've started on that journey, but they haven't figured out how to appeal to the younger consumer. But what I'd actually advise her to do, rather than starting to take a lot of risks initially, is I would tell her to figure out how to turn the trend around. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's not about taking big risks right now. It's about doing what she needs to do in order to get the multiple years of sales declines to level out, because that will give her the credibility with the investor community to start taking those big risks that the brand needs in order to find that innovation and find out how to appeal to the customers that have candidly been the customers at brands that she's worked for in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I 100%. And Chad, I'm curious to get your opinion because you've got a extensive marketing background here too. I mean, her resume is awesome. Like, it's incredible. And they took it and they took her from a competitor too, which is also a big coup. But, to me, I think, to extend your point, Adam, like, the rebrand here is really important. Like, how do you brand Victoria's Secret so it has a purpose to today's modern consumer? And so, Chad, I'm curious, what's your take here?
Yeah, I agree with the things that Adam said, but I'd probably put a little bit more gasoline behind it versus, a little bit more of a tiptoe conservative approach.
Okay.
Right? So let's look at the hire for a second. You said it, Chris, right? It always looks good to hire a rival that's performing well, right? Now, granted, she's been at Savage by Fenty for a year, right? So
right,
that's
good point.
That's not the track record that you really are saying, okay, that's why she'll be successful in Victoria's Secret, and you go beyond that. But I think even that hire itself starts an aggressive marketing and branding. Not that
it does. You're right.
But it's starting to say things are different here, right? And they have made steps under Martin toward inclusiveness and diverse body types. I wouldn't say they're known for it yet, right? But they've started to lay that foundation, as Adam was saying. In my opinion now is that it's time to really double down on it, right? Where, for instance, do you think the average consumer even knows that Victoria's Secret, acquired Adore Me, right? Like, you go to the website and you see connections of VS and Pink. You don't see that, still separate platform. Like, you're not getting credit for that. Like, small example, but it seems like there are opportunities to say, we've turned the corner to starting to redefine that image and testing that impact without alienating your loyalists. And now it's time to really commit yourself to it. And that's how you're actually going to get the big revenue jumps and turn the corner.
So, Anne, I deliberately saved the most probably competent person to talk on this subject amongst the four of us for last. So, what do you think here? I mean, do you agree with Chad? Do you agree with Adam and what I've said? Do you think she's the right person for the job? And do you think her experience at Savage by Fenty will actually help her to shift the consumer perception of Victoria's Secret in a way that's positive?
I think that the biggest thing here for her, I agree with Chad, like, a year at Savage by Fenty, I think, was probably just enough to get a taste of this. Savage by Fenty is on a roll. They're on a trajectory, and you have a real turnaround here. And I think Victoria's Secret is so smart in hiring her, because Victoria's Secret's number one problem is the product. It has been for the last 10 years. I think they have been slow to bring in things like fit technology. They've been slow to bring in other approaches in the store to really help have me as a consumer who has to purchase your product every 6 months out getting the right product for my body. It's still young, new hires coming in that are not specialists anymore to help me with a very intimate and very important purchase that I make every day. And so I think for nothing else, like she's just got the merchandising background to really take a hard look at like, what is the modern bra consumer looking for? How do I work on factories and the right manufacturers to create these products and to be able to adapt and create things more efficiently and react to what my customers are saying? And how do I get this set of product that really is in demand again with your consumer set, which it just hasn't been for a long time. So I think she's got a great team of people also at Victoria's Secret, Chris Rupp being one of those who's really trying to push technology and really push like this feedback loop with customers in store. So I think it's hands down, it's about product and the product problem that they have at Victoria's Secret, both from the things on the shelves and what the overall customer's perception is as a result.
The only thing the devil's advocate in me would say, and this is one thing that I found curious about the announcement, Chad, you alluded to it too, in the sense when you said like she's only been there a year. It also does make me question how successful Savage by Fenty really is, because it is unusual for a successful startup to lose their CEO at this point when they're on the precipice of a potentially big growth trajectory. I have no idea, but I think that's interesting. And so it makes me wonder, but she should still, regardless, have a good sense of what was working and what doesn't. So like, Anne, you mentioned fit technology. Was that really worth the investment or was it not? And do they need to focus on the actual product and the brand positioning of Victoria's Secret more so than, some of those things? So I don't know, but that was one angle to this story too, that I thought was really intriguing.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'd add too is like it's new categories that Victoria's Secret needs to get into. Like you look at the success of Skims and like Victoria's Secret is not playing in that game at all. And they should be a huge competitor. Like they have the manufacturing facilities. They have the ability to kind of like get up there and provide some real competition in that space. And they're not even close. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity too that hopefully she took from, having a famous partner in Rihanna for Savage by Fenty that hopefully she can like leverage too as she's kind of creating these new products and really trying to drive awareness for those consumers as well. All right, let's go to headline number 3. Best Buy now offers live delivery tracking. According to Retail Dive, Best Buy customers can now access live tracking of product deliveries and in-home installation services. The tracking feature is available for large items like big screen TVs and refrigerators. On the day of a delivery, once a driver begins their route, the app will use real-time traffic data to provide views of drivers along their delivery route. When a customer's house is next on the list for a delivery or installation, Best Buy says the tracking map will zoom into a street-level view, providing an up-to-the-minute estimated time of arrival. The app will send a notification just before the driver arrives. Chad, this sounds incredible, but does Best Buy's new delivery tracking app make you more likely to buy your electronics from Best Buy?
It's a loaded question when you put it like that.
Oh, okay. How come?
But I mean, maybe, right? So what I'd say is in the delivery experience of today, because things have gotten pretty good, right? But I'd say my biggest personal frustration is yes, when there's a large or valuable item on the way, or just anything that requires a signature, and I don't know what specific time I need to be home for it, right?
Right.
I have literally had to chase down a FedEx truck down the street to sign for like a bottle of alcohol.
Yeah.
I've had those times where you get 3 consecutive days of notices stuck to my door because I've missed something, because I've managed to time a 45-minute walk with my wife, wrong in a day-long window. Like, yeah, it's frustrating. Is it gonna change the game on my loyalty? I don't know. What I think it's doing is all tides I think are rising against this, and I think it's becoming more and more of a table stakes item in the overall delivery game, and there may be a little bit jockeying for position and who's got a slight advantage now, but AI in its infiltration across the entire retail sector, it only makes sense for it to hit here. And it's just going to be part of the inherent experience, right? I also wonder kind of what's behind the scenes on this, and whether this kind of AI will allow Best Buy to also have more efficient driving routes on the actual logistics side, right? So can you reroute real time as a result of weather or traffic patterns or whatever other source data they're using for this to predict my delivery time better, and not just give me the like, oh, he's going to be there in 2 minutes, right? Hopefully I'm
Right.
ahead of time, or like Adam said, that I'll know 35 minutes in advance that my Starbucks coffee's ordered. Like, give it to me with enough notice. But I mean, yeah, it's great. I love it. But you know, I think it's going to end up being a little bit more table stakes than customer loyalty driven, to your question.
Okay. All right. Adam, what about you? Does
No,
this
I
change
think
where you're shopping for your electronics?
no, absolutely. I think my problem is that electronics are not something I buy with a lot of frequency. So the pain of a large electronics purchase, delivery window, or installation, I've already oriented myself for that 1 day a year to just say I'm using that year. So I think that's a part of it. And then on top of that, like what Chad was saying in terms of this becoming table stakes, I think this is a wonderful application of AI, and that it is somewhere where in retail it can make a difference in terms of delivering a much improved customer experience. But I think that Best Buy, I mean, love to take a bet with all of you, but I think 2 years from now, everyone will have this technology.
Sure. Yeah. Chris, what about your thoughts here? Where do you land? I mean, we come from the land of Best Buy, so
And
we
his
might have
eyebrows have been
some.
raising this whole time. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
You're
waiting
yeah.
for
noticing
the
that, haven't you,
rebuttal.
Chad?
I
Yeah,
am
you
waiting
have
for the rebuttal.
You're waiting for the contrarian point of view, right? No, I mean, I think there's two sides to this equation. There's strict package delivery, and then there's things that you need to get installed or let people into your house. And installation is also part of this. And the high service touch items are what Best Buy makes its bread and butter on. And particularly when you factor in Geek Squad here, although it doesn't sound like Geek Squad's part of this right now, but I see no reason why it couldn't be in the future. Right. And so for those instances, particularly when you have to schedule multiple installs or you have multiple products coming, getting the 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. window is very awful. Like, you know, it's just terrible. And so from that standpoint, I think there's a value here. But what I do agree with is I think it still comes after the fact. Like, it still comes considering all other things are equal. Like, am I getting the best price? Am I getting the best deal, the best warranty package, everything else? Once I get through that, then I want this. Otherwise, I'm probably comfortable, to Adam's point, of just being like, okay, I'll just take a day out because that's what I've been ingrained to do for my whole life. But so, yes, I see it becoming the standard for package delivery potentially. I don't see it necessarily becoming the standard for installation, because I think there's a lot of people that, you know, play an installation game that are not nearly as technically affluent as a Best Buy.
No. And I guess I'd question, like, all of you, especially you, the consultants, like, what's an hour of your time worth? What's the value of that? And Best Buy does price match. And so I think that if you can have the lowest price and you get this technology, at least to your point, Adam, for the next couple of years until the other retailers catch up, like, for me, I think this is a real game changer for people that are not just shopping for these higher end electronics items, because you're right, that's not a frequency purchase. But I mean, I think as you start to incorporate more and more of what Best Buy is selling into this delivery, you know, using this technology, I think that to me makes all the difference in the world, because you're playing on convenience, you're playing on your time is money, and you're really playing on the quality that Best Buy is bringing in here from a product perspective. So
100% agree. And I've had to 100% agree. And I've actually had to play the downside of this before Best Buy introduced this over the last 2 weeks, waiting for Geek Squad to arrive at my house. I've had to push meetings or cancel podcast recordings as a result of this. So, Chad, do you want to say something there?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's great. Let me kind of make that point. But it is also putting an onus still, as I understand the technology, on the end consumer to be available. So yeah, instead of a 12-hour window, maybe I'm given a 5-minute window, but like I still have to be available during that. And do I have the ability to necessarily flex my schedule in that way? Or it's like
really good point.
Oh crap, it didn't work for me. And so I'm stuck in the same rut of needing a delivery the next day, right? So
yeah,
I'm tempering my excitement about it a little bit.
That's a really good point, because you're still going to get the big delivery window the day before, and it's just going to get updated to the minute the day of. That's a really, really good point. All right, well, let's now take a break and let's invite Vince Coe from AWS onto the program. Headline number 4, DoorDash has partnered with Max to introduce its first ever streaming benefit for DashPass members in the US. According to a DoorDash press release, Max with ads is now included with a DashPass annual plan membership in the United States at no additional cost, giving consumers a $240 annual value for just $96 per year. The partnership introduces the first benefit available for DashPass annual plan members that extends beyond the DoorDash platform, included at no additional cost to members. As consumers continue to find ways to stretch their dollars, a DashPass annual plan now offers savings on both Max streaming and DoorDash fees. Adam, given DoorDash's addition of Max, which one would you be more likely to give up first, Amazon Prime or your DashPass?
Interesting question, Chris. Makes me, I actually never compared DashPass and Prime, but I actually think that it's a fair question given that they meet the same need state for me. For me, I'm comparing Amazon or DoorDash when I need something quickly. And if I think about the assortment on both platforms, I'd almost say that DashPass is better, just given that there's so many different stores that are in the ecosystem. I'd also say that from a delivery perspective, DashPass is not only better from a delivery window experience, as we just discussed, but also it's a real person whose one task is to hand me my item rather than just on a truck for the day. And I'd also say that from a fee perspective, when you have DashPass, maybe a little bit more expensive, but on the individual order level, it's worth it. Also, I'd say that Max is a streaming service that I watch. I don't actually watch Amazon Prime that much. But when I add all this up, I have to think about the one other thing, which is cost. And unfortunately, in New York City, everything I buy on Amazon is significantly cheaper than my local store. And while that stinks because I love to support local retail, just the difference in cost on the item itself and DashPass and that platform versus what I can get something on Amazon, it's not even competitive. So with that, unfortunately, I'd have to say DashPass is the loser and Prime is where I keep.
So DashPass is the loser. Okay, cool. And the other point we got to make too is the Prime is actually like $50 more expensive annually than the DashPass too. And I'm curious where your head is on this one. Do you agree with Adam, or would you give up Prime before DashPass?
I mean, I do get the price sensitivity. It's really hard to not go for Amazon for the breadth of items and the lower cost at the same point. But I think it depends on life stages and what your requirements are. Like, I think you cannot deny the benefit, at least for me and my family, of food delivery as a component of this too. Like, we use this so often, whether I'm traveling for work or I'm at home. Like, it's something that I use with far more frequency than Amazon these days. It's immediate delivery. Like, there's never any question about it. And now adding in Max, I think, is a huge benefit because, like Adam said, it's something that's where we're watching all of our streaming content. And so that's really the big, I mean, that got me to upgrade to an annual pass from the monthly pass that I currently have. It was this Max deal because I was look, we're already paying for both of them.
Yeah,
it just makes sense to give them all my money now instead of what I've been paying for the last year plus probably in monthly fees. But yeah, I think it makes so much sense. And now they can deliver a mattress that I can watch Max streaming on as well. So I feel like the possibilities are endless. DoorDash is going to keep going up, so I'm keeping my DoorDash pass.
Right, and alluding to the fact that they just signed what was it, mattress firm as a partner this week. I mean, I got to jump in here too. Like, I actually, with all due respect, Adam, disagree with the price side of the argument, because I think one of the things that's happened with Amazon is they've set the table stakes for 2-day delivery across the retail industry, and so you've got people like Walmart that give you another option to get those same products at those same prices without having to pay a subscription fee. So I think when you factor that into the equation, for me personally, like, I'd rather have DashPass at this point. But Chad, you get the last word here. What's your take?
Well, like Ann said, maybe it's about life stage or individual household habits. Like we don't do much food delivery, honestly. So I'm not even this is probably like sacrilege for Ann, because I know you're a big Dasher, but like we don't even have the service. It's just not how we roll. So the comparison is not even, I mean, it's like laughable to me.
Yeah.
Right? From an
Is it?
overall,
Okay. Interesting.
well, I mean, from a breadth of assortment, and you got, yes, its own streaming platform and cloud storage. And by the way, like Amazon Prime has Grubhub now, but so let me take a step back and just let's discuss the offering itself, right? So first of all, as a platform, like Max is a great one. I'm actually surprised that it was still available at the standpoint as everyone's like grabbing all of these. Like it's the fourth biggest subscription streaming service behind Netflix, by the way, behind Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime has about 2x the number of subscribers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And Disney Plus, right? So you're doing better than Instacart with Peacock, was
Walmart with Paramount.
Walmart with Paramount
and Hulu. Yeah, even Walmart and Paramount Plus, although maybe similar to my Amazon Prime, like Walmart has a lot more going on than just streaming, right? And so yeah, so it's like not even a concept. I do think it's interesting, this concept though, of like how all these players are bundling like the delivery and the streaming. Like it's an interesting pairing that's kind of pulled together here. I mean, obviously you're going after this like mutually digital savvy, digitally oriented consumer with two high use cases in terms of how people use digital and what they do on their phones, right? They order stuff and they stream stuff. And so that pairing. And so, you know, what happens next? All right, these guys have jumped on the bandwagon and grabbed up Max, and, you know, kind of what goes beyond this, and where do they start bundling, and how does this, you know, become, you know, it does make me want to, I'm not sure anyone's picked up Apple TV yet. So poor lonely Apple TV. So I'm going to start a bike delivery service and give you free Apple TV. And there you go. We can discuss
What's the delivery range? How far are you traveling?
About 500 yards.
In your cul-de-sac, Chad? In your cul-de-sac?
Yeah, a couple of houses around me.
Adam, last word here. I can see you wanted to chime in.
No, I think Anne brings a really good point to the table about food delivery. And if that is something that's important to you, that's something Amazon can't compete in. So back to me trying to place bets with you guys so you'll bring me back in a year or so. You know, I'm thinking, does Amazon look at a delivery provider and think about bringing that into the Prime offering as a way to compete with this? I think that will be the way that we can tell what consumers are doing in mass.
Yeah, and like Chad's point,
they just did Grubhub.
Yeah, they have Grubhub. Yep,
but
they did. But it's not as well known.
Compare, and
like
the penetration, the penetration of Grubhub and DoorDash you cannot compare right now.
Chad, keep going.
So as one who has used Amazon Prime and Key Delivery as a vehicle to launch a much you know, like with the whole in-garage delivery platform that we did in the past, right? We utilized Amazon and its subscriber base, because Amazon Prime, you know, has kind of no competitor from that standpoint,
right?
As a mechanism to build the service, right? And so Grubhub is going to expand in its penetration just by that association. So, you know, at some point, again, I don't use Grubhub or DoorDash, but like, what will be the difference between that, and will it actually ride Amazon's coattails to be just as interesting, right? So I don't think there's a gap in the offering, I guess is the point on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and net, great discussion and a very provocative question intentionally. But I think what it signals is, you know, just because you've had the best subscription program in the past doesn't mean you're entitled to have the best one in the future. And the landscape is going to shift. And over time, customers will go where value is, because that's an axiom of how business gets done.
All right, let's close it up with headline number 5. Walmart is ending drone-up deliveries in 3 states. According to the Bittersweet Symphony reporting at The Verge, you're welcome for that from Chris, Walmart is ending drone deliveries made with partner DroneUp in Phoenix, Arizona, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Tampa, Florida. Right now, it costs about $30 to use a drone to deliver a package. That's right, I said $30 for a drone to deliver a package. But DroneUp wants to bring the cost down so that it's less than $7 per delivery. DroneUp will be closing 18 Walmart delivery hubs in the cities, and 17% of DroneUp's workforce, 70 staffers, will lose their jobs, according to Axios. Following the cuts, there will be only 15 Walmart locations, 11 in Dallas, 3 near Walmart's Bentonville, Arkansas headquarters, and 1 in Virginia Beach. It should also be noted that Walmart also partners with Alphabet's Wing and Zipline on drone deliveries in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area and with Flytrex on deliveries in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Chad, we want to hear from you. Does this week's news from Walmart spell the eventual end of the drone delivery craze across retail?
Yes, I think you guys have been pretty adamant from the start about this being kind of doomed upon announcement, right?
Yeah,
it just doesn't seem like a long-term winner, does it?
It doesn't now.
The economics of single point delivery through, drones and the logistics and the other associated baggage of packages flying through the air and regulatory, just all these things, like it just didn't seem worth it. I'm actually glad, Ann, that you read that point around how many locations are left, because when I first saw the headline, I was like, all right, 3 states down. And for all I know, they're still in 40. So maybe this is no news, but it seems to be whittled down to a very small population. And honestly, I don't know if there's really much to say beyond. I'm not sure that it has go forward legs.
Shoot. That's not what I wanted to hear. Adam, what are your thoughts here?
I think that Chad makes a really good point about the multi-node delivery and how you're better off having a lot of smaller locations that you can have broader coverage versus having one point and a really fast way to get the product out to the consumer. Look, I think it's a nascent technology. I think it's very exciting. I think it's also a lot more exciting to write about than it is to actually use as a consumer. Both as the cost that we've mentioned previously. I think it'd be great if we get down to $7, but it's a really hard business. Yeah. And I think that, this is, while we might think it could be the nail in the coffin, I think it could also be what helps this technology mature. And by focusing on one market, getting the basics right in one place, we might be able to have a proof point that, hey, if you can truly focus and change the habits of a consumer in an area, that this slow, long-term approach is the right one to bring this technology out at scale. I just think it's too hard to do quickly in a lot of markets at the same time.
Yeah, they're really working against the clock. I think that's the hard thing. Like, do they have enough runway from Walmart who's willing to pay $30 per delivery until they can figure it out and get it down to that $7 number is the big question here. But Chris, close us out here. What are your thoughts? So is this the end of our beloved drone delivery?
Yeah, and so I'll try to be as pragmatic as I can be on this one, too. And so this is just one of the drone providers. So there are other drone providers still at play. So we don't know the economics of those other drone providers and how ingrained they are in the operations across Walmart, across all these states. So, but with that said, you have to fathom that the economics of one are pretty close to the economics of the other. So yes, as bullish as you and I started to be about drone delivery this year, particularly when we interviewed the woman in charge of Pratibha in charge of it at NRF, this makes me a little skeptical. It really does. I mean, those economics, if they're real, that's a big matzo ball to have to swallow.
For and a hamburger helper box, yeah, that's a problem.
Right, but that's a key point too. And then the other thing I'd bring up too is Adam kind of mentioned this, like, is the consumer ready for this? The consumer isn't really the choice here, because at the end of the day, you're just getting packages a different way. You can be almost, agnostic to that to some degree. And so, for this to ever be likely cheaper or more efficient than just pulling a car up or, some delivery truck up to your house, at a given time, you're going to hit those costs and you're going to get more packages in that delivery provider's vehicle too, which goes back to what I learned from you a while ago too, which I think you said probably a year and a half ago, was like one-to-one delivery just doesn't make sense. The world doesn't work that way. It's always one-to-many: buses, planes, ride shares, carpools. You can go on and on. And so as long as you're limited in package size here too, it just seems like there's some big uphill battles here for this ever to work. But I don't know.
We'll see. We can make some bets after the show today and see. We'll do like a year checkup with Adam. We can do everything that we talked about today. We'll all place our bets and then we'll let the listeners know. We'll do a 1 year.
Right. Adam wants us to start scorecarding the A&M participation. We should start doing that. Like, who got things right and who got things wrong.
All right, let's close this out with the lightning round. First question goes to you, Chad. You just returned from the Greek Isles from your vacation. If there was one dish that you had there that you could recreate exactly as it was in Greece, but have weekly in Chicago, which dish would you choose?
Oh man, so much good food over there. It's incredible. But one thing I was saying, while we were over there and just this simplicity of a really well done, as you ignorant Americans would call the gyro, but just a really well done pork gyro. And something I'd like to recreate here. It's an absolute steal that you can walk around and just get one of those for, $4, €4.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just hits in every dimension.
Yum.
And so
So
I
good.
think I may be having that weekly from here on out.
Would there be tzatziki sauce on that hero, Chad?
100%.
Oh, yum. That's
All right, Adam, as a Penn grad and knowing we have many other Penn grads among our listener base, shout out to all of them. What was the best place to go for a late night snack back in your college days?
If I'm on campus, likely coming from Smoky Joe's at I think 1 in the morning when everything closed,
Nice.
was definitely Allegro Pizza. Not only for the pizza, which was fine, but for the people watching. I swear all of the creatures go after whatever adventure that they're having. And it's a really fond memory that I have of my time there.
Nice.
God. So good. All right, Adam, you get the next question. Netflix recently teamed up with Google to allow viewers of the newly released Emily in Paris season to shop looks while they're watching the show using Google Lens. Inquiring listeners want to know, very important question, are you Team Alfie or Team Gabrielle?
I haven't seen the show, but I would say Gabrielle because she just sounds so much more chic.
Well, Gabrielle is a man and he is a chef and he is very handsome, but also very chic. So that's fine. Team Gabrielle is fine. Team Alfie is the only correct choice here, unfortunately.
Oh,
and
really?
Chris, I'll hand it over to you.
I haven't seen the show. Chad, have you seen that show?
No, I haven't seen
No.
it.
Is Gabrielle French too, by the way? I'm assuming
Yes, Gabrielle's
yes.
French,
Okay.
but Alfie's English. So I guess the question could
Oh.
be, Adam, England or France? That could be your question.
France, hands down.
France hands down.
Nice.
All right, Chad, let's close it up. Score, the dating app that matches people based on credit history, is reportedly shutting down. No surprise there. If you were a swinging single again, what would be the #1 deal breaker for which you would screen or be on the lookout for in a dating app?
That's so unfair. I just want to close the show with this for real. I'm so far out of the being a swinging single, and there's so many ways to get in trouble with this question.
Yeah, there is.
What is my deal breaker? Listen, I'm a pretty ridiculous, silly, goofy guy. Like, if you can't laugh along with my sense of humor,
That's true.
and just find the ridiculous minutia in life and find ways to laugh about it, and you take yourself too seriously, that's a deal breaker.
100%. That's one thing that I know Ann and I both love about you too. So kudos to you for saying that. All right. Happy birthday today to Kim Cattrall, Peter Weir, and to the woman who starred in the recently canceled Acolyte, which I am still very, very upset about, Carrie Ann Moss. And remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk, the only retail media outlet run by 2 former executives from a current top 10 U.S. retailer. Our Fast 5 podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news, and our daily newsletter, the Retail Daily Minute, tells you all you need to know each day to stay on top of your game as a retail executive, and also regularly features special content that is exclusive to us and that Ann and I take great pride in doing just for you. Thanks as always for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. If you want to check us out on YouTube, you can follow us today by simply going to youtube.com/OmniTalkRetail. Chad, if people found this conversation engaging, enlightening, educational, and they want to get in touch with you or anyone at the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can learn about us more at alvarezandmarcel-crg.com. You could find out what's on our daily minds on our LinkedIn page at Alvarez and Marcel Consumer and Retail Group. And you can always hit Adam and I directly on LinkedIn as well.
All right. Well, on behalf of Chad and Adam, thanks to them for joining us today. And on behalf of all of us at OmniTalk Retail, as always, be careful out there.